Raise your hand if you like to play laser tag. I know it feel dumb because ain't nobody watching you, but just pretend like I'm there. Just pretend like I'm there. So raise your hand if you like to play laser tag. Like, that's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. Now, if your hand is raised, ask yourself this question, like, why? Why do you like running around in the dark with strangers who are trying to shoot you? Like, why? Like, were you born with that need for an adrenaline rush? Like, how does it feel? How does it feel to participate in an activity like that and like not be terrified? Like, tell me more about it. In my mind, nothing that begins with us being in the dark, with people that I don't know, with some fake guns and some vests with targets on them, like none of that yells fun to me. Like, more specifically, it's the startle effect that gets me. Like, we in the dark, we running around, we hiding behind these things. I can't see y'all. We got some little glow in the dark side. Like, you know that feeling, like once the person found you, like, because you hide. Like, when I play laser tag, when I've been, the 2 times I've been in my entire life, like, I just stay in one spot. I hide behind the thing, and and it's usually by the door, by the exit, and I just stay there. I don't move because, you know what? It's that feeling. It's that I found you feeling. That's what gets me. It's also the anticipation. That's what gets me too. That, like, that build up, waiting for somebody to come around the corner and find you. Like, I know it's not real, but my nerves, they can't take it. Like, matter of fact, I don't like no activity that has a startle response, like, as a means of being fun. Like haunted houses. Like, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm gonna say it if ain't nobody else gonna say it. If you go through haunted houses, like, you're part psychopath. You got to be, like, you're a sociopath, you're a psychopath. Because why is there an activity like that even exists, and why do you all enjoy it? Why do you enjoy? Oh, you know what? Here's another one. Here's a hide and seek. I never liked that game. You know where I used to be? You know where I was when my cousin was playing hide and seek? I was sitting on the back step. I was watching. I didn't have it in me. I didn't want to. I didn't want you to find me. Now I would count, but that's it. And then when I find you, I'm just gonna kind of look around the corner. Like, I don't want to participate in that. Because it was too much for me. Like, my nerves couldn't take it. And as a kid, my family lovingly labeled me as having bad nerves, right? And I say lovingly because I truly believe it was one of those things where they just didn't know. They didn't have the language for me, but they also knew, like, she different. Be careful with her, like, she different, right? I could still hear my nana. She used to come to that back porch, and she used to get that cautionary warning signal out because, like, you know, we playing anything she thought like that was gonna startle me or scare me. My grandfather used to like chase us around the yard and, you know, scare us and stuff. Here come nana. Don't do that to her because you know she got bad nerves. Like, she was there. She was gonna let you know, like, she got bad nerves. Leave her alone. I was always the exception. Because I had that startle spirit in me. Like, she knew, and she was gonna let you know, like, don't scare that baby. She got bad nerves, right? I also feel like it was a way for my family to protect me. Like, T got bad nerves. Like, it was how they protected me because they weren't sure, and I still won't sure what that meant either. Like, all I knew about your nerves was that people could work your nerves or they can get on your nerves real bad. Like, I just figured that my nerves was, like, defective because they kept saying she got bad ones. I didn't know if they were made right or something like that. I don't know. I really did. I just believed that I had a nerve problem. Like, I had this nervous issue. I didn't think that everybody went around assuming the absolute worst case scenario to every possible thing you could think of. Like, I thought I was the only one who did that. Like, I wasn't sure if everybody walked around with a constant worry and a constant fear of something happening to the people they love, or like this sense of impending doom all the time. Like, I didn't know that I was the only. I thought I was the only one. I knew other people had, like, quirky things about their personalities. Like, some people twirl their hair, some people bit their nails. Like, I used to bite my nails. I bit my nails at some point, but then it turned from biting my nails to, like, a skin picking issue, but like a severe skin picking issue with my thumbs, like so severe that my parents would have to bandage them up so they could rest. They would bleed. They would be raw, and on really bad days, sometimes I couldn't even bend them. Again, another behavior that I just couldn't explain, but it was because I had bad nerves, or at least that's what I understood it to be. Welcome to the Breathe Black Mom podcast, where moms of color can come to relax, relate, and release. I'm your host, T. What's up, BBMs, my Breathe Black Mamas, and my BBLs? Pause. We still working on the name. We're still working on the name. I'm gonna have to have y'all submit one or something, because BBLs it's just not gonna work. But for those of you who are new here, my BBLs are my Breathe Black listeners, because we know it's not just mamas listening, it's dads, it's friends, it's loved ones, and I'm just glad to have y'all here. We're back today, heading into episode 10. Y'all went a little quiet on me last week with episode 9. Y'all went a little quiet, but I'm glad you're back here today. If you logged back in, hey, welcome back. I'm glad you're here, hanging there with me. I'm hoping this one sparks some more conversation, wakes us up a little bit. Y'all was snoozing last week, but it's okay. It's okay. Before we get into it, y'all know the drill. If you haven't already, please follow Breathe Black Mom, the podcast, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. I swear I got my Invisalign in. I don't know what's happening. But most importantly, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever streaming platform you are listening through right now. Lastly, don't forget to leave a review. Tell the people if you're liking this or not. BBMs, BBLs, tell your neighbor who the people are. Say neighbor, the people. Repeat after me, neighbor, the people. That's T. Now high five your neighbor and tell them if you like it here. That's how you show T your support. You show T your support by liking it, by sharing it on your socials, by leaving a review, by subscribing, etc. Now, nudge your neighbor and tell them, come on back here next week now. We need you. Come on back. All right, y'all. Before we begin, I want to once again lead with a disclaimer for this episode. So just remembering there is safety in this space. Understand that all opinions and perspectives that are presented across this mic belong to the speaker. So whether that's me or whether that's any guest that I have present, those opinions are not intended to be used as judgment against anyone, nor are they intended to be fact for anyone else. Also, keep in mind for this episode that I am a licensed therapist. I'm just not your therapist. So please do your due diligence. Look, I'm not editing this out, so y'all gonna get what you will. So please do your due diligence in seeking whatever help you need from professionals you trust and respect. The topic today is brought to you by my own personal and professional experiences only. I am not seeking agreement, only an opportunity for conversation and an opportunity to create awareness. Okay, now that all of that is out of the way, let's find out why she got bad nerves. There's a part of our brain called the amygdala. It's located at the base of our brains and is responsible for emotion, memory, and our fight or flight responses. Now listen, the whole reason I changed my major in college is I was a psychology major. They talked about the brain just a little too much for me. Some things I think it should just be left for only Jesus to know, because I don't know why these things work together, why the way they do. And in case you don't know or care, I'm gonna explain it the best I can, because I don't like the brain. I don't like talking about it. But bear with me. I promise you I'm going somewhere with this. But okay, so this part of the brain, the amygdala, is also where our anxiety switch is located. Let's think about it as a light switch, if you will, people. And the whole reason we needed this part of our brains is because once upon a time, we used to be primitive. Now, whether you believe that we were cavemen or monkeys who were first walking on all fours to upright humans. Like, that's your business. I'm not here to debate that. We ain't talking about history or none of that. That's your business, what you believe. But we were primitive. All I'm trying to say is we didn't always go to Aldi to buy our food or Food Line. Like, we weren't always living in lavish houses with roofs and doors on them. And with that being said, we needed protection. Okay, there were dangers out there. So our bodies needed a way to protect us. So they naturally built up this protection from us, from the danger seen and unseen in the world. And whenever we were faced with danger, that part of our brain would switch on, light on, right, to alert us that we needed to fight, flee, or freeze. So just for a second, I want you to picture this. Like, some of y'all thrill seekers, the ones who like to play laser tag, the ones I don't understand, y'all out there, right? Y'all out there, y'all hiking, you're swimming, in the ocean. We're going to put y'all in the ocean because y'all like to do crazy stuff. I don't really understand y'all. Whatever life-threatening situation you decide to put yourself in that day, picture yourself there, okay? You're there. You're hiking, you're swimming in the ocean. You come across the most dangerous animal that you can imagine. I mean, the biggest and the baddest. I'm talking about a Triceratops Godzilla Rex, right? Like, think about it for a second. Think about it. It's a whole Triceratops Godzilla Rex. You scared. What's happening to your body when you encounter that? Like, think about it. What's happening? What's you see this thing? It's big. It's bad. What's going on in your body? I mean, I know what's happening to me. My whole body powered off like a cell phone. Dead. I'm dead. Okay. Everything shuts down. Whoop. Done. Okay. But for y'all normal people, the adrenaline junkies, what's happening for you? Some of y'all might freeze. Some of y'all, you might be chilling, but your muscles might be tense, right? Your heart might be racing, but you might be, stoic, cold face. I ain't gonna let him see me sweat. I don't know. Some of y'all, your mind might stop. It might stop thinking altogether. You're done. I don't know. Might feel lightheaded. You might feel dizzy. You might start sweating, shaking, crying. Some of y'all might pee on yourself a little bit. I don't know. It depends on what type of animal it is. For me, it could be a dog, and I'm gonna have all them reactions. For y'all thrill seekers, it's a Triceratops Godzilla Rex. Is that? That's your amygdala. Whatever that response is to seeing that, for me, the dog, it's your amygdala springing into action. It's your amygdala. It's doing its job, right? It's telling you, girl, something is wrong, child, do something about it, right? That's the signal we're talking about. That's the signals that our body used back in the day and even today to see that we don't face danger or help protect us from danger. How likely is it today that we're going to encounter a Triceratops Godzilla Rex? Not very likely. However, the threats to our brains are much different today than dangerous animals that we may have encountered back in the day. But that response that happens in the brain, that's still the same. For some of us, though, that response in our brain is constantly being misfired, mistriggered, right? Because some of us have preconceived or perceived threats that are actually not threats at all. They're not life or death. Our bodies are not in danger. We're not in danger. But our body no longer knows how to distinguish between the two. So in a nutshell, those of us who experience that, our light switch is always turned on. It never goes off. Our minds are running from our own perceived danger every single day. We are mentally tiring ourselves out, and we created a baseline that is anxiety all the time. It's just there all the time. For some of us, those symptoms mentioned above or that startle response is what it's like to live with anxiety every single day. Constantly worrying about being chased by a Triceratops Godzilla Rex. So here I am. I went from being this kid with bad nerves, the ones that's getting her fingers wrapped in bandages because she's picking them so badly, and sitting on the back porch because she's afraid to play hide and seek, to fast forward 2011, and I'm now in graduate school. I'm sitting in one of my favorite classes, my DSM-5 class, and for those who aren't aware of what that is, what are you talking about? DSM-5 is basically the Bible for mental health clinicians. Like, it's our Bible. It's our book of all the mental health diagnosis. And I was excited about this class. I loved this class. And I remember the exact moment we started studying anxiety disorders, because it's a whole chapter of them, right? And we're reading off the symptomology, and there it is. Generalized anxiety disorder. As we continue reading about more of the anxiety disorders, we get to the compulsive disorders, and here we go. Dermatillomania. I know that was a lot to say. Now known as excoriation disorder. That is a skin picking disorder. And I'm just like, wait, hold up. Stuck in my seat right there. And I'm like, it's other people out here who experienced it. Like, I'm not alone. Like, that's what that's called. Like, nobody know what's going on, but in that moment in my seat, I feel seen. I feel seen by whoever wrote this book, and I feel understood. Like, I no longer feel crazy. I no longer feel different, because up until that day in grad school, I couldn't tell you what none of that was or what none of that meant. I had been experiencing these things my entire life, and this is what it is. Like, I felt relief. I felt relief, but I also felt all these other emotions too. Like, all these other emotions I researched for days. I had to know more about it. Like, I knew my mind was different. I knew my thoughts were weird and a bit unorthodox, or at least, that's all I could put together, because I wasn't talking about it with nobody to find out if other people were thinking the same things. I just knew that my mind was a very interesting playing field. Now let's pause here real quick before we continue, because as a people, well, not me, the people, not this time, but y'all, the people, like us, the people, the black and the brown people, we have a huge fear of the word diagnosis. Okay, so much. Like, we fear that word so much. We're told, let me be clear, we have a huge fear of mental health diagnosis, and we fear that so much. We're told not to claim it. We're told to take it to Jesus. We're told to get delivered from it, or to just pray it away. And I can do an entire two-part series on just how problematic those messages are to us as a community, just how bad and how it leads to so many more issues down the road. But I have Jesus and I have anxiety. I have Jesus and I have a therapist. I have Jesus and I used to take medications to manage my anxiety. A lot of this thinking that we have as a culture and as a community around being diagnosed with the mental health disorder, it leads to a lot of misconceptions, not just about anxiety, but any other mental health issue that we face in our community. For some reason, mental health diagnoses are viewed as some sort of weakness or a sign of being unstable. There's a lot of accusatory language that's used in regards to what a person didn't do or what they should do in order to get rid of it. And most times, y'all, heck, nine times out of 10, no one chooses this. It's not a choice. Because if you give me a choice right now, I'm taking a peaceful mind for 100 Alex. Like, who wants to be sitting here over this mic telling you, oh, I have anxiety? Like, trust me, it's not a badge of honor. And I want y'all to listen to me, mamas and daddies and friends. Having a diagnosis is simply a way to categorize and understand human behavior. That's it. Like, if you don't take nothing else from the podcast, we can stop it right here. Like, that's it. That's all I want y'all to learn today. But for real, having a diagnosis is simply a way to categorize and understand human behavior. When we are diagnosing somebody, it is not to stamp them, it is not to label them or create a sense of enabling them or hopelessness in them. It is simply a way to understand human behavior. Once we understand the human behavior, guess what? We now know how to help you. It's no different than going to a medical doctor. Like, a cold is a diagnosis. They took a group of your symptoms and they said, okay, this is what it is. Her nose running, she's congested, she coughing, it's a cold. That's it, right? A cold is something you have. It doesn't have you. And we make it a fear that it doesn't have to be when it comes to talking about mental health diagnosis. We really have to break that cycle. But I'm going to come back to that. I'm jumping ahead of myself. Focus T. I'm going to come back to that. But I just wanted to say that because, I think it's problematic, and I wanted to go ahead and kind of disclaim before we continue that that's all a diagnosis is. Anxiety is just like any other emotion we have. happiness, sadness, joy, contentment. Anxiety is in there too, right? We literally all experience anxiety. There are the everyday stress and anxieties that we experience that generally most people will experience like on a day-to-day basis. But then there's the clinically diagnosable anxiety for many of us where that light switch, it stays on. It never goes off. And here's how you can tell the difference between the two. So when you're stressed about something, like the everyday anxieties and stressor, it's something that you can usually identify, like a job interview, let's say, or getting some lab results back from a doctor's office. And normally in situations like that, once you remove the stressor, you remove the stress that's associated with it. So for example, okay, I had a job interview, I got the job, I'm relieved, stress gone, I feel better. Or, I went for these labs, I was a little nervous, but all the labs came back normal, I can breathe easy now, all is well. Those everyday stressors are also something that can be like motivational. So, okay, I got this job interview. Let me go brush up on my skills, because when the last time I did an interview, like I'm motivated to do this. I'm gonna go practice. I'm gonna go take some resume writing classes or whatever. Or, last time I went to the doctor, my labs weren't good. So let me go ahead and take my medication, or let me change up how I'm eating. So this time when I go back to the doctor, it can be better. However, with anxiety or diagnosable anxiety, it doesn't have to have an identifiable stressor. Like everything is a stressor, like all of it. And once the stressor is gone, we still stressing about it, or the next thing associated with it, or the thing that might come afterward. Like we're still stressing about it, and the stress is bigger than it probably should be. And it's not just I'm worried about it. No, it is now interfering with my everyday life at this point, right? So I'm no longer just worried about the job interview. That's not just it. I also have an 8. I ain't ate because the job interview in 3 days and I'm scared, so I can't even eat. Or I haven't slept because I was up all night Googling answers to questions, Googling the job, Googling the salary, like all of that. And even though I'm anxious, okay, now I make it to the interview. I'm at the interview, but now I'm stressing about if I wore the right outfit, if I'm saying the right things, if I snorted when I laughed, and if that meant that the interviewer might have thought I like pigs or that I eat pork because he don't eat swine and now he hate me, right? Or now, am I even qualified? Because why would I be qualified? Last night, I couldn't remember the capital of the United States, so why would they hire me? Like, why would they hire me? And then if they do hire me, what if my car break down? What if my car break down on the first day of work and now I got to call out? Matter of fact, because I don't know what's going to happen, let's just avoid it altogether. Like, if they call me, I'm going to send it to voicemail. And I'm going to let them tell me on the voicemail whether I got the job or not, because I'm too nervous to answer the phone. That, my friends, that's anxiety. Now, there are several different types of anxiety disorders. Like, it's a bunch of them. Again, y'all gonna have to go do your homework. I'm here for a good time, not a long time today. But a lot of the anxiety disorders, they're very similar. They're very similar in nature with some of the symptoms. Some are more situational, like social anxiety or agoraphobia, where you have fear of going into public places. There are some that also co-occur along with others. But again, that's y'all homework to do. I'm going to give you some resources. You go do your homework. Remember, I'm a therapist. Look at me lying, talking about I'm y'all therapist. I'm not your therapist. I'm a therapist. I'm just not y'all's therapist. But for the sake of today, because there's so many disorders, and again, y'all, I probably could do this in a 2-3 part series, just breaking down all of them. And y'all tell me if y'all want to hear it, because I could talk diagnosis all day. But for the sake of today, I am sharing my experience, which is generalized anxiety disorder. And I do have a co-occurring disorder of compulsive picking disorder, which is excoriation. So some of the ways that shows up for me that may look very similar for some of you is, number one, constant worrying, like excessively worrying about things all the time. Like, not your average, here's my to-do list today. No, like jumping from one worry to the next, no rhyme or reason, just always worrying. Up all night, going to bed, there's 50 tabs open in my head, and I'm like jumping from each one. Like, hey, the kids have school spirit week this week. They have to be a superhero. Oh my God, what was my favorite superhero as a child? And I did like the pink Power Ranger, and I wonder why I like the pink Power Ranger. Was it because I like pink Starburst? Can you choke on pink Starburst? Like, that's the conduct. And I'm never feeding my kids pink Starburst after that because they might choke. And what if they choke? Oh my God, I don't know what I would do. Like, yeah, that kind of constant worry, and also having constant feelings of impending doom, like always feeling like something bad is going to happen. Like, I just know it. Like, oh my God, something's going to happen. My family's going to die. I'm going to die. You know, constantly running from that Triceratops Godzilla Rex. Like, that's not even chasing me. That is what that is like. The other thing I do is I overthink all the things. Like everything. Like all the things. If I text a monologue to my closest friends and they respond, okay, I'm sorry. Did I do something to you? Why are we not friends anymore? Why are we not friends anymore? Like, why would you only say okay? Never mind that they might be at work. I got busy friends. My friends is in corporate America, like they doing life. Never mind that they might be at work or in a meeting. So they're like, all right, okay. But why didn't you send me a voice note? Are we not friends anymore? Like, that's where my head goes. Or don't let my husband wake up and he ain't say good morning. So you want a divorce? Like 17 years together, it just means nothing to you. Like, you want a divorce? Like, you don't love me anymore. That's what my overthinking looks like, right? Like, I still ruminate and think about embarrassing moments or situations from years ago. Like, years ago. I still think about them. Like, it's over, Tiana. Like, it's over. You embarrassed yourself. It's over. It's over. No, I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about that one time where I shouldn't have did that, right? I also pick apart every interaction in my overthinking. I pick apart everything. Like, did I say too much? Did I say too little? Was I an introvert today or was I an extrovert? Like, I'm an introverted extrovert. Like, introverted around certain people. I gotta feel safe. So if you never got an extroverted side of me, I probably did not feel safe around you. Like, I probably did not. Like, I'm very extroverted around people that I feel safe with. My people, my tribe, the people I trust. I'm a hoot. I'm funny. I like to laugh and cut up. If you don't get that side of me, I'm still getting to know you. Yeah, I'm still scoping this thing. I'm still filling you out. And I'm probably overthinking. Every single thing that I'm doing in that moment. Yeah. I also have a lot of trouble with handling uncertainty. I have a need for speed, a need for control. Okay, I need to be in control. Like, anxiety, a big part of anxiety is I need the control. Like, tell me about all the things and all the people before I arrive. Like, give me the rundown of the guest list. Who is that? Where they from? Who gonna be with them? Who is that? Like, prepare me for what I'm about to get into. I am an obsessive researcher. I research all the things because I want to know. I got to know, especially if we're going somewhere. We like to vacation. Before we vacation, you best believe I know everything about where we're going. I know everything. I know where Walmart at. I know where Target at. I know how to order the food. I know that if you use that back door, it don't latch right. Like, I know everything about where we're going. And when I retire, I'm gonna make an amazing travel agent because this is actually a skill that I've turned this into because we have some amazing vacations because of my ability to research all the things. But it's pretty bad, y'all. Like, it's pretty bad. Like, one year we were planning for a vacation and my therapist made me throw away my itinerary. She made me throw it away and she challenged me to just go with the flow for the upcoming vacation. And going with the flow is somebody with anxiety's worst nightmare. That's our worst nightmare. Like, where does the flow go? Who's all gonna be there with the flow? Like, who gonna be there with the flow? Like, what time do the flow come back? Me and her spent a good 2 sessions processing through her wanting me to throw away this itinerary. Like, what do you mean? Like, it was all laid out to everything from what we're wearing, and she made me throw it away. She convinced me to get rid of it. I did indeed go with the flow. Not too much flowing and going, but we did. I threw it away. We had a good time. It wasn't that bad. She made me process it, but whatever. That's a person's worst nightmare. I don't have her anymore because she moved on to a greater job. I love her. I miss her. However, since I don't have her, I still been researching all the things and doing what she told me not to do. Okay. The other thing is a lot of difficulty concentrating and focusing and completing tasks. Like, that's a part of anxiety. It's a part of my anxiety. Mind racing all the time, causing an inability to focus. Sometimes my mind just feel blank. Like, I don't remember what I was about to do, but I'm supposed to be doing something, right? The crazy thing is I'm a list person. Like, I got a list somewhere, everywhere in this house, in my phone, it's a list. I'm a list person. Some days though, looking at the list, it get to be too much. Like it's too much, it's too many lists, it's too much stuff to do, and now I can't focus. And because I can't focus, now I'm procrastinating. And because I'm procrastinating, I'm doing nothing at all. Forget the list now because it's way too much and I can't focus on it all at once. So we're not going to do anything. We're just not going to do anything. Last but not least, because there's so many others. It's so many other symptoms, but these are just kind of the ones that stuck out for me that are mine. This got to be my favorite one. And it's the intrusive thoughts. It's the intrusive thoughts. The intrusive thoughts are a part of anxiety, but they're also a part of OCD, like obsessively compulsive thinking. Intrusive thoughts. This one is my favorite. Let me tell you why. Because you ain't got to be bothering nobody. You could be doing absolutely nothing at all and absolutely minding your business, and boom, out of nowhere, what if I get hit by a bus tomorrow? That's the kind of thing that just pops in your head. Like, you didn't ask for this. You didn't ask for that. You didn't ask for that thought. Nobody asked for that kind of thought. But there it is. Here it is now. We're here. What if we get hit by a bus tomorrow? Does it stop there? No. Like, we wish it stopped there, but nope. Now we've spiraled into this rabbit hole of whether or not getting hit by this bus is going to hurt. Is it going to hurt? How is my family going to react, right? Who's going to be there to save me? Who's calling the cops? Who's calling my husband? Is my phone crushed when I get hit by this bus? Like, who? And then who's coming to the funeral? Are the kids going to need therapy? Who's my husband going to end up with? That's an important question. Like, now I'm in full-blown tears. I planned my whole funeral. All of this. I've questioned my husband's loyalty about when I pass away and who he going to be with. Meanwhile, it ain't even no bus route. In my city. It is in my city. But what I'm saying is that's how anxiety does. Like, I'm over here worrying. I ain't even got to ride the bus. I don't go nowhere near the bus. I work from home. Why would I get hit by the bus tomorrow? That's what I'm talking about. This is how this works. Now take all that stuff we just discussed above and add motherhood on top of it. Put it on top of it. A recipe for disaster. A recipe for disaster. Not just for us, but for these little people that we are raising. Like, for me, take every symptom I just listed for y'all and add everything to do with my kids, and there you go. That's motherhood for me. That's motherhood in a nutshell for me. Like, I worry about everything when it comes to them. Everything from how they look when they leave this house to who they're going to be when they grow up. Jesus, let them be something great. Like, every day I'm worried. I'm just worried. And again, not your normal, no, obsessively worried about how they look. Anybody will tell you if they've kept my kids. Ooh, I'm terrible. If they kept my kids and I'm out of town, baby, please don't put that shoe on with that shirt. There is a list. I sometimes send lists. I put lists in a bag. This shirt goes with this and those shoes go with that. It's just, I don't care if I'm all the way in Jamaica. Please don't let them walk out the house looking crazy. It's my whole thing. Please don't. It drives me crazy. It interferes with my life. As a result, it causes me to be a helicopter parent at times, which personally, I don't believe is necessarily a bad thing all the time. But hey, that's my jam. Might not be your jam, but it's my jam. I don't really trust too many people with my kids. And I don't necessarily know that that's a part of my anxiety disorder or anxiety. I mean, I think that's just more so we live in a crazy, cruel world and I need to protect these kids. So I'm going to. So I'm a bit of a helicopter parent and I don't really trust too many people with them. But even more than that, I'm always on edge all the time about something bad happening to them, like all the time. Like, y'all remember the bus? Like, yeah, I have vivid images of things happening to my children, running into the street, getting hit by, like, crazy. But you know what the result of that is? The result of that for me as a mom is me projecting those fears on them and not allowing them to do a lot of things because it could come close to harming them. Like, I'm that parent. Like, I move in fear a lot with my kids because I'm anxious and I don't want anything to happen. So, like, yeah, you can play sports, but not no sports that's too rough, and not no sports that's gonna hurt you. Like, And you can go play in the ocean, but don't go past where the water touch your feet. That's it. Like, things live in the water. Like, Yeah, we can go to the fair, but you can't ride that ride. Mommy don't like the way that one spinning, and it look unsafe. So no. And Yeah, you can go. No, you can't go outside alone. You can go outside. You can't go by yourself. No, absolutely not. I don't know nobody out there. Mm-mm. And if it wasn't for my husband, my kids would probably be hermit crabs. Like no socialization skills whatsoever. None. Like I also see why God didn't give me boys. Like I get it now. He knew. The other areas where having anxiety challenges me is in motherhood. Like going back to my Spirit of Rod episode where we talked about triggers. There are a lot of people that do not realize that irritability and overstimulation are also symptoms of anxiety. Okay, now listen. I want to be clear here once again. These things can be mutually exclusive. You can be irritable and overstimulated without having an anxiety disorder. You could just be irritable and overstimulated, and it can lead to some of the same results we're talking about. But for the sake of this episode, I'm talking to my anxiety girls out there, like the ones of us who have been labeled as moody, having a bad attitude, snappy, having whatever. But in reality, it really ain't none of that. Like, we ain't got no bad attitude. The TV just loud, and the wash over there knocking. The kids is calling me. The heat up too high. My head is itching because I need to wash it. I'm bloated from this rice I just ate, and now my jeans are too tight, and my cell phone keep going off. Like, way too much happening. I'm in sensory overload, and I'm about to spaz out. Like, I know this about myself. Like, I know that about myself. I know that too much stimulation, too much over stimulation, and I'm done. And I've done better about recognizing that about me. And I realized that it's me bugging out. Like, it's me, Tiana. Like, you're the one who's bugging, not them. On the same subject of being overwhelmed, overstimulated, and now I'm shut down. Now I'm shut down because I'm the type of person, the way my anxiety works, if I am too overstimulated, anxiety through the wazoo, I'm not productive. It, again, going back to one leading to motivation and one not. When you have an anxiety disorder, it's not motivational. It does not make you want to do things or do things better. It actually increases a shutdown. Like, no, I'm doing nothing as a result. And it can easily be misinterpreted as like laziness. She's not doing anything. Her house is not clean. All these things on her to-do list, she's done none of them. A lot of ways that my anxiety takes over in my home is having the ability to control my environment. Like, my home is the one environment that I have control over. My home is also my biggest trigger. Biggest trigger. Because clutter, mess, disorganization, it makes my mind crazy. Like, absolutely crazy. I cannot take it. But on the same note, when my anxiety is out of control, it causes clutter, mess, and disorganization. It's like looking at all those things. Like, I don't want it to be that way, but then I don't have no motivation to do anything about it, right? Do y'all see the insanity in that yet? If not, keep listening, Jesus, because it's pretty insane. After I've obsessed over all these things I need to do in my home, and I've created lists for all the things I need to do. Okay, here's the thing I need to do for cleaning. Here's the things I need to do for grocery, all of that. Now I see the amount of lists and the things that need to be done, and now I'm overwhelmed by that. And now I just forget about anything on the list because ain't none of it going to get done. And now I'm just stuck. And I'm sulking. And I'm upset with myself for not completing nothing on the list. And then we're in this vicious cycle again. Now I feel like a bad mom. Now I feel like a bad wife. Like, what did I do with my time all day? Nothing. I just sat here and worried about everything. And y'all, this is just some of the ways that anxiety show up for me. Just some of the highlights, and maybe some of it for you. But it's literally only the tip of the iceberg because it presents differently in all of us. So what's it like living with anxiety? It's debilitating. Y'all didn't think I was going to get on here and say all this just to sing the praises of the diagnosis, did you? Because it's so, do we know each other? Like, are we even friends? Because no, like, it's debilitating. It's lonely. It's a very frustrating diagnosis. Some people think you're crazy. Heck, some days you might think you're crazy. And it's not just the mental toll that it takes on us. It's a physical toll. Like, carrying anxiety in your body too long can lead to so many other physical manifestations like headaches and stomach aches insomnia, all the things, because it literally starts to affect your body. Like, it goes from a mental issue to a physical one. It also bleeds into so many other facets of life, like how we show up as parents, how I show up as a wife, as an employee, etc. And at the same time, these little people are watching me. Like, for me specifically, that includes 2 little people who have already been diagnosed or showing signs of anxiety as well. So my response to how I manage and cope with my anxiety, I have to really be mindful of, because they're learning from me how to manage and function through their own experiences. And many of you listening, like myself, have learned to function through it. We are functioning anxiety people. Well, we call it functional anxiety. We're the ones that are keeping it all together. Successful by society's definition, because what is success? Top of your class, mommy of the year, soccer mom of the year. We're the type A personalities that excel in work and personal life. That's us, just out here showing the world that we can be all that we can be, while simultaneously obsessing over all the world. Like, I know how to facade very well. I have learned to function with my anxiety very well. Like, when I walk out of my house, there's not a hair out of place, baby. Not just because I got locks and they beautiful, or because I hate doing my kids' hair, but I know how to turn it on. I know how to facade, I know how to function. And I can brave a face for family, friends, co-workers in order to get by. And then I get home and it's a completely different person. Motherhood literally catapults you into wanting to be a better human. Maybe not all of us, but most of us. It just makes you want to be better. And I know that was the experience for me. Like, it felt okay to be a hot mess when there was nobody who was being impacted by me being a hot mess. But having those babies forced me to face some stuff, helped me to face myself. And I found out in college what my diagnosis was and put a name to it, but it would still be years and years and years later before I actually did something about it. And mostly because I was still unsure. I was still carrying a lot of those fears and misconceptions that we carry in our Black community, just believing that I just had to be stronger, I wasn't strong enough, or I had to be braver, I just had to pray more, I was overreacting, I was overthinking, I was making it up, all of those things that I was toying with in my head, or making it actually harder on myself over the years, because I was just believing that I just didn't have the willpower to do it, and that it would just go away. But spoiler alert, that's not how it works. It didn't go away. That's not how any of it works, guys. And I had to make a conscious choice. that I was going to step outside of myself, and I was going to get some help attacking this beast. Why? Because I had these little people who it mattered for. Like, I had to. And I know the next question, well, girl, how'd you do that, girl? Well, I'm glad you asked. And because I'm a therapist who has a therapist, y'all know I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to leave you hanging without giving you some of the practical ways to help take control over your anxiety. So the first thing that I think is important for gaining control of your anxiety is to first acknowledge that it's there. Acknowledge. And then we're going to educate, right? We can't address nothing that we aren't willing to face or willing to hear. Again, we have this fear, we have this stigma about mental health in the Black community, but just another way. It's just a way to categorize human behavior. So maybe you've known something wasn't right all along, or you just can put your finger on it, or you're like, hey, I do have some stress, but it ain't normal stress. Like, or I do have some thoughts that are up, but it ain't normal thoughts. Maybe you just discovered that today through listening to me today, that it's something up, right? It's never too late to get started. Just my only advice is make sure you got it right. Make sure you have it right. Take time to educate yourself, to learn about whatever diagnosis that you're suspecting that it is, along with misconceptions. Because with misconceptions easily comes misdiagnosis, right? You don't want people sticking stuff on you that's not right, because then you're going to be getting treated for the wrong. Like, don't diagnose me with I don't know. Don't go to the doctor and diagnose me with the flu when it was an asthma attack. I don't know. Like, don't falsely diagnose me. That's how I feel. And because of social media, y'all know we get hold of something and we run with it, baby. Like, the folk done ran down bipolar and narcissists just into the ground, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it because a lot of them just be so loud and so wrong, and it makes me angry. As somebody who knows the DSM, as somebody who knows how these things show up, the people just run everybody bipolar, and everybody a narcissist. That is not true. So again, just make sure whatever you're saying, you're sure before you go chasing it down, before you go slapping a label on yourself. Make sure you're sure. Make sure that's exactly what you're experiencing. Secondly, seek help. Once you've educated yourself, now go get some help. Y'all, stop running from therapy. Stop running. Like, why are we afraid? Why are we afraid of therapy? It's literally just talking. We're talking something different when you say go to a psychiatrist and get you some medication and all that. But I'm talking about just regular old talk therapy. Why are we scared of it? We just talking. That's it. They don't bite. At least none of the ones I know. I don't bite. I don't bite, but I'm also not practicing individual therapy. I don't like doing it anymore. But they don't bite. It's more than just pushing our community to go to therapy. It's helping you understand that you deserve therapy. Like, you deserve it. You deserve a safe place to release. You deserve someone to help you unravel things and just talk, right? It's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Like, really and truly. Greatest thing that's ever happened to me. It's freeing. It's safe. It's a place where I can process. I can walk through some of what I'm thinking. Somebody who don't even know me, but trained to help me get through this stuff. You're also modeling this for your babies. Like, you getting therapy, you seeking help, gives them permission to also find a safe place to go. It gives them permission to not know all the answers or have to figure them out on their own. Next is find your way to cope. Okay, so here's the thing. So many different remedies, so many different things when coping with your mental health, like literally thousands and thousands and thousands, probably millions of resources on how to cope. You have to find what works for you, right? Before we can talk about coping in the first place, we first have to do what? We got to identify our triggers. We got to talk about it. We talked about this, people. What's the source? Like, what is the source? And let's start attacking it at the source. A lot of times in therapy, sometimes for people with anxiety, sometimes, not everybody, is triggered by something else, right? That happened. Something else, sometimes trauma, sometimes less. Sometimes people don't have a trigger. Not a trigger. They do have triggers. Sometimes people don't have a source. It just is. It's in your makeup. It's how you are. I honestly still have not found my original source. My therapist used to push me, child, all the time. Dig deep, figure it out. It was nothing. I didn't know a source. I just remember always being and thinking that way. But I do have triggers. And I know them. Not just external triggers either. So the house and the stuff I was talking about, but my internal triggers. Like, I know what happens in my body that alerts me, child, here you go, and it's time to get yourself together. Like, there are things that start to happen with my body that lets me know, Tiana, your anxiety is about to get out of control. Like, there are things that happen. So getting to know your triggers absolutely help with being able to know what you need to do to cope. One of the most effective ways to cope with anxiety specifically is mindfulness. And once again, for the people in the back, or those who are new here, mindfulness is simply being fully present in a moment. Being fully present, having an awareness of your body, having awareness of your feelings and the things around you. The reason why mindfulness is so effective with anxiety is that it helps to thought stop. It helps to slow down all of the craziness that's happening in your mind. And I honestly view mindfulness as a distraction, so to speak, for the mind. Like, there are a few favorites of mine that I'm going to mention shortly that I go to for grounding or mindfulness. But to me, it's just a way to distract my mind from what's going on. So first go-to for me always is music. That is my first go-to, and it is an escape. First of all, I love music, all kinds of genres. I love music. So if I'm singing, if I'm vibing out, I'm usually not thinking about whatever I'm anxious about. And that's usually my first weapon of choice. Music is my first weapon of choice. If the music's not working, I know, okay, next. Or I usually try nostalgia. So I go look at some pictures. I mentioned this in earlier episodes. I look at pictures. I watch old videos. I watch old movies that made me feel good, or just reminisce. Those type of things are coping skills for me that help me feel better. Looking at pictures. I think I said that. Did I say that like 3 times? Whatever. You get it. Nostalgia. But next are 2 actual techniques that are used in therapy to promote mindfulness. So the first being the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding method. So many of you heard this mentioned in Jordy's episode. A lot of you asked me what it was. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a grounding technique where you, whatever environment you're in, you are looking around and you are using your 5 senses to name things you see, name things you feel, name things you hear, name things you smell, and name things you taste. It's so easy to do. You can do it anywhere. That's why it's one of my favorites, because I could be sitting in a room full of people doing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and nobody knows what I'm doing, right? It's also one of my favorites because it's a good one to teach kids. Like, very good to teach them. They know what their 5 senses are. And teaching them when they feel anxious that they can do this wherever they are to help them focus. The whole point of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, again, to me, it's a distraction. If I am looking around the room, actively finding things that appeal to my senses, 5 things I see, 4 things that I feel, 3 things that I hear, I'm no longer focusing on whatever I was just stressing about. My mind is busy right now. It is picking out things, and I do it as many times as I need to get out of whatever that cycle is in my brain. So that is why 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a favorite for me, and a favorite for me to use with my kids, because it's easy for them to pick up on and learn. It's nothing complicated. You literally can type in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounded method in YouTube, and so many different type of videos will come up. There's different way people do it, but pretty much same concept. So type it into YouTube and find it. The second one that I really like and will use in therapy is progressive muscle relaxation. So that is literally a mindfulness relaxation type technique where they talk you through the release. They go through each muscle group and they do like this tension and release type exercise to release tension in your muscles, right? So I encourage people, whenever they are looking for coping techniques or things to get through anxiety or depression or whatever it is that you're looking to cope through, I always encourage people to use techniques that best meet the needs of the anxiety. So for example, if you are somebody whose mind races, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is your jam. Why? Because everything that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is focused on the mind, and it's distracting the mind. If you're somebody who carries a lot of your anxiety or your tension in your body, muscle relaxation is where you want to focus. So progressive muscle relaxation would be what you would want to do, because your body cannot be tense and relaxed at the same time. It's not possible. So that is the whole point of progressive muscle relaxation and things like that. I also want to mention, as honorable mention, deep breathing. So we know this podcast is called Breathe Black Mom, and it is called that for a reason. So here's the thing. When we take deep breaths, the whole reason deep breathing is a thing is because every time we take in that oxygen and take those deep breaths, we are sending the signals back up to them places, the amygdala and all the other parts of the brain that I don't know how to name. And we are telling them that we are safe. Okay? That is why deep breathing is such a thing in therapy. Every time you take that deep breath, every time you do that, you are sending the message back to your brain. I am safe. I'm okay. Like all the things, if you think about fight, flight, or freeze, all of your body is doing what it do, right? So when I see a dog, everything freezes. My muscles are tense. My brain ain't working. Nothing's working, right? And your body has sent all the energy. It sent all the energy to those places, like to your feet, the energy in your hands in case you got to punch, the energy is in your brain in case you got to run. Like it sent all that good energy to those places so that you can protect yourself. It ain't sending it to the part of the brain that's saying, girl, Girl, the dog over there across the street on the leash, like, it ain't coming over here. It's not sending it to the logical part of the brain. And those of you who know all them brain name parts, you know what I'm talking about. It's not sending the oxygen there. It's sending the oxygen to where it thinks you need it, which is all the things to help you get away. So when I stop and when I take some deep breaths, it starts sending those messages back like, oh, she good, she all right. So deep breathing it's a part of progressive muscle relaxation too, but deep breathing just by itself is a way to calm the body. It is a way to send the signal back and say, hey, you're okay, you're safe, it's okay, sit down, girl. Like, it's cool. Another thing that I do that you can do to cope through anxiety is create deterrence, right? I'm a picker. I said that. I'm a skin picker. Because of that, I keep my nails done. Like, faithfully. Every 3 weeks, I'm going to see my boy. Like, I don't just keep my nails done because I look good. I keep my nails done because I have a compulsive picking disorder that is directly linked to my anxiety. Like, my therapist helped me figure that out. We talked about it one day. We were talking about things that helped me stop. And I'm like, I don't ever pick when I have my nails done. And she's like, well, why don't you keep your nails done? Well, why didn't I think of that? Like, if I thought of that, I went ahead to pay this copay so I could come see you. But it's worked. And I have been doing that now for probably 3 years straight, where I am consistently keeping my nails done because it stops me from picking, and it's working. So as long as it's working, guess what? I'm keeping my nails done. Yeah. The next thing that people use to cope, which is a complex one, is medications. Now listen, this ain't for everybody. Medications are not for everyone. And honestly, medications are not even a personal favorite for me, not as a therapist and not personally, but not even for the reasons that people may think. Like, I have been on medications for my anxiety, and guess what? It was beautiful. Oh my God, it was a beautiful experience. It was the first time in my life that I was able to function for real. Like, I had never experienced having a clear head like that. No racing thoughts, no obsessive worry, and no picking. I felt free. Like, I felt free. The only problem for me were the side effects. The side effects for me was a deal breaker personally. And a lot of antidepressant medications have very similar side effects. And for me, that wasn't going to work. So that is the only reason I stopped my medication. My show is rated G, so I will not go into those side effects. But it's literally as simple as a Google search, and put your two and your two together. That I didn't like the side effects of my meds. Yeah, so that's why I personally stopped taking them. The side effects are not the same for everybody. Those were just my side effects. But there are pretty common ones, and I ain't like it. Nope, wasn't worth it to me. And then lastly, just understanding that people believe that coping and self-care are a lot of those physical things we talk about, like, oh, take a walk, oh, listen to music. Oh, I just also want to mention that coping includes things like getting rid of toxic relationships. That's coping. Setting boundaries. That's coping. Like decluttering your home. That's coping. Decluttering your life. That's coping. Detoxing your body. That is coping. Exercising. Doing things like that. Don't ignore those areas. Don't bypass things like that because they don't sound like your typical, hey, here's how you cope. Those things are coping. Okay, T, so what's the point? Well, I'm glad you asked this too, because y'all asking some good questions today. Thank you very much. My point is that I'm hoping through my experience, through, just personal and professional, that we can normalize the fact that these issues are very present in our community. Like, my point is to release the shame and the taboo associated with any mental health diagnosis, not just anxiety. Like, one thing I've learned about myself and about my diagnosis is that there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like, speaking openly about it, seeking help for it, actually frees me of it. Like, it's been the most freeing experience I've ever had than to just sit there with it and wonder if anybody in the world deals with it. It's been the most freeing thing to allow me to talk about it. It allows me to not sit in my head and ruminate about the things that I feel limit me through my anxiety, but actually find new ways to continue learning more about it, to continue coping through it. I don't use my anxiety as a crutch. I don't use it as a means to debilitate me or to enable poor behavior or decision making, but I do own it. I know that it's a part of who I am. I know that it's a part of my story, and I'm not ashamed of that. Many people would not believe, and still do not believe, the extent of what it is like to battle depression or anxiety on a daily basis, any kind of mental health diagnosis. It has no respect to person. There are no stereotypical behaviors like many people think there are. It shows up in so many different ways for everybody. You know, the cliche whole check on your strong friends, like really do it. Really do it. It's important because it's the friend who's posting the perfect pics of their kids, those elaborate vacations, the funny ones on your timeline, the ones who are going out for yet another degree, the strong friends who have the most encouraging posts and inspirational messages to share. It's them. It's them. I know them. I see them because I am them. But it's not just your friends either. Check on your babies too. Like, anxiety shows up very early if you're paying attention. Do you got a nail biter? Pay attention. A kid that likes to pull at their hair or chew on their shirts or, pull at their bodies or things like that. Watch your babies. Watch their body language. Certain situations, watch them. Listen to the language they're using when they're describing certain events or certain things they're afraid of. Like, pay attention, especially to those quote unquote good kids, the perfect patty, quote unquote. Pay attention. Those are the ones who are the overachievers, the ones that are out of the way. They're in line. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're super sensitive to other people's feelings. They're usually the ones carrying the most anxiety. Don't take it lightly when they tell you things like they're suffering from anxiety or they feel anxious or they feel depressed. Jesus, because we know, listen, what we hear, you ain't depressed. I'm going to give you something to be depressed about. Don't tell the babies that. Don't tell them that. Really ask them, listen, teach them what it means. Don't stigmatize anxiety, depression, or any of it early. If they're telling you, I'm anxious or I'm depressed, talk to them. They may not know what they're talking about, but they also might. They might be on to something. So listen to them. They might not just come out and tell you. Sometimes it's just going to show up in their behaviors. If they're isolating or what appears to be odd behavior or strange behavior to you, pay attention. Ask how you can help support them. It may not start with, oh, you're anxious. It may not start with, oh, you're depressed or whatever. Sometimes it may start with just, how can I support you? How can I help you get through this? And that may lead to you figuring out a little bit more about what's going on, right? Also, don't be afraid to put them in therapy. Therapy's good. There's nothing wrong with therapy. So my mission here, of course, is to bring awareness. That's it. If you got anything out of today's episode, then my mission here is complete. It's my hope to free some of my fellow mamas from themselves so that we can break some cycles and go on to raise happy and healthy babies. Ooh, y'all all right out there? Anybody seen any Triceratops Godzilla Rexes lately? I didn't think so. I don't think so. They probably hiding out there in the laser tag rooms that y'all be playing in. Anyway, y'all adrenaline junkies, y'all too much for me. But thanks so much for listening today. As always, every week that y'all are here with me, rocking with me. For those of you who are seeking resources for therapists or mental health support in your area, Therapy for Black Girls is a very great resource to start with. It's a website. You can type in your address or your zip code, and it's going to give you all kinds of therapy resources in your area. Or if you're looking for other services in your area, like behavioral health places or outpatient places, Google is your first friend. Or you can speak to your primary care doctors or primary care providers. They usually have a list of resources for you for mental health. Or you can also visit local emergency rooms, hospitals, things like that to get any kind of mental health needs cared for. I'll also include in the description of the show the link to some of the mindfulness techniques that I mentioned in today's episode, so you can check those out. I really could do multiple parts of this episode, y'all. Like, it's so layered. It's so much more than just anxiety. That's just my story. But yeah, it's so much more that we need to discuss, that we have to discuss in our community in order to break some of these cycles, in order to help these kids and help ourselves. But we'll see what the rest of the season brings. If there's something you want to hear in particular, there's an email, briefblackmom@gmail.com. Y'all can also hit me up in my DMs or my inboxes on any of the social media platforms, or right here in the comments. Just tell us what you want to hear, and that's good for me to know, because then I can go ahead and put it together for you. So let me know if you want more, if you want to hear about a particular diagnosis or more about a particular subject related to mental health. Okay, y'all, I'm tired. It's actually very late when I'm recording this, but as always, thanks for listening, y'all. Before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe through whatever streaming platform you are listening from. Make sure you follow Breathe Black Mom, the podcast, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify for announcements and any kind of show updates. Lastly, don't forget to leave a review. Tell the people if you're liking this or not. The people might have bad nerves, but she's here and she's listening. I'll talk to y'all soon. Until then, just breathe.